Hi, and welcome back to the Comfort Table. I'm Teal, and this is Cian, and we have been stuck in Singapore for at least the past 2 years because of COVID, and that has, I guess, made me realize or resurfaced certain pet peeves I have about our fellow countrymen.
Let me
which we
just
would like to talk about today.
insert a point to say I've actually been stuck in Singapore for many years before this.
Yeah, but like being stuck with like no avenue for escape just sort of,
I've
aggravates
never gone out
everything.
of Singapore until I was 15.
Oh.
Not even to Malaysia. The
Oh.
first place I went to was Malaysia when I was 15.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
and since then you have taken so many solo trips. Well done, you.
refer to our previous video. Yeah, so
Pet peeves. I mean,
yes, top.
I've always been annoyed by these points that we will talk about, but I guess the past few months have really sort of made me a lot more frustrated by it.
So I guess today we have top 5 Singaporean pet peeves about Singaporeans. But
Which
it's
may
a
not-
combined
yeah.
it's a combined pet peeve because I think Teal has many more.
It may not be exclusively Singaporean, so please let us know if this happens where you come from too.
And if you come from Singapore, then
Yeah.
okay. So in no order.
In no order.
Okay. The first
First one would be not moving in on the bus. So this is especially a problem on like the older style of bus. So there are newer types of bus with like 3 doors now, but
It's very
very rare.
Yeah. I have not been on one. I want to get
I
on
have.
one.
Yeah.
There's 2 staircases, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the London buses. Okay, but
Yeah.
anyway.
So not moving in on the bus. Why is this a problem? Because imagine this is the bus, right? And this is the driver's side. So there's a door here, and there's a door somewhere in the middle to get off the bus. So people get on the bus, and then they want to get off, and then just like stay in this general area, and then they never move into the back half of the bus. Then there's so much standing space here, but everybody just crams and they just like stand in the front half of the bus that people getting on are not able to get on. Or like they
There's no
get on and then
space.
they're like squashed there, and then there's like this huge expanse of like empty standing space at the back of the bus that nobody just wants to move in because I don't know why. Maybe they're like scared that they have to like squeeze past people when they want to get off the bus.
Yeah.
And just move in! So usually I have to like excuse me, and like move all the way until I can stand at the back of the bus and like yes.
And then there's like nobody between
There's
you and the rest of the bus.
Why people just move in the space? Be nice to your fellow
Bus.
passengers.
I think there was a period of time when I was very frustrated by it when I was like in secondary school where I had to take very long bus journeys to and from school, and like it was always very full because like everybody got
It's peak hour, right?
everybody was trying to go to school or get home at the same time, right? So it was really hard to squeeze onto the bus, and like sometimes missing a bus means you gotta wait for another 15-20 minutes, and like as a student you were not having that. So yeah, that was frustrating, but I think nowadays I don't take the bus that often, so it hasn't been a active pet peeve of mine. I guess my biggest pet peeve is actually littering. I don't see people actively littering most of the time, but you see the remnants of litter everywhere, and like it's just really frustrating. And I think the fact that it's like it feels like people don't care about the place that we're in, or like you have no regard for other people using the space. It's like just leaving sometimes bottles of or like cans of beverage just everywhere and around, or like random mask nowadays because that's
Mask.
very common. And like it's not the kind of litter that you want to like pick up with your hands and just throw away because it feels like you don't really know whether there's any body fluids on it. Not in a like it could just be like saliva or whatever, right?
Yeah. It's very ironic because Singapore is often praised as being a very clean country.
I know, that's what pisses me off more.
But it's clean because people clean it.
People as
There
in
are people
cleaners.
hired to
Yeah.
clean it, and there's like dustbins everywhere. There's no reason why people can't just hold on to their trash for maybe like 2 minutes longer until they reach dustbin.
Yeah. And I'm especially like annoyed by because there's a lot more like seating spaces in public housing nowadays, like between like Sky Gardens, like between the levels of a block and things like that, right? And then I mean, it's fun to like maybe go down with your family or your friends to maybe have a few drinks or whatever. I don't know whether that's against illegal assembly, I don't know. But I find beer bottles sometimes when I walk around. And it's just not pleasant for the next user.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my pet peeve.
So related to trash is recycling. So Singapore has one of the lowest home recycling rates.
For a developed country?
For a developed country, yes. So we have recycling bins, yes, but if you take a look inside, it's usually just treated like a normal trash bin. There's a lot of contamination.
Yeah.
Like people just throw their food packets in and just
You
contaminate the whole, it just ruins the effort of everyone
everybody
who even
else who actually
bothers.
cleans
Yeah.
their things for recycling.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it's things like plastic or glass, it's not that bad because like I suppose they can still wash it after it reaches the recycling station. But if it's like cardboard or paper, then you are like,
And there's also so little awareness of what can and cannot be recycled. So I see things like your plastic straws. You're like, you drink your bubble tea and then you just throw the whole cup inside with it. But that is not a plastic that can be recycled.
and also like
I mean, contamination aside, right?
yeah, contamination also.
Or like styrofoam boxes with the food still inside.
I think the other one is also like, for example, when you recycle cardboard, you should peel off like all the plastic. But I think that's like even higher of a level than just not throwing contaminated waste into a recycling bin.
Yeah. And it's really like next level. So even if we don't talk about, housing estate, like even in my office, there's like 3 bins for plastics, metal, cans, and I guess general waste. Sometimes when I look in the plastic and the metal bins, it's like, that is not plastic, that is not metal. Like, you people are working in this company, you are obviously, white-collar, educated people. You can't even differentiate what is plastic and what is metal and put it in the correct bin. Like, there's this kid's toy where you have like a circle, you put in the circle hole, this kind of it feels like that. Like, do you know? Oh, yeah, I'm at a loss for words. Really.
It's a very
Deplorable
difficult
state.
problem because I think recently there has also been campaigns trying to get people to put the recycling in the right bin, like
Blue bin
Yeah,
campaign.
the blue bin campaign. Blue is spelled BLOO, and the recycling bin is basically shown as angry. It's quite funny actually, but yeah. It does feel like a waste. I try not to look inside the bin too much when I'm putting my recyclables in, because it feels like my effort is wasted if I see contamination inside, and
Yeah.
it doesn't help. Like, I just try not to look at it and I just try and do what I can.
It's especially gets frustrating because I think I mentioned in our previous video that I went on exchange in Japan and there we had to sort our trash, and everybody sorts their trash like law-abiding citizens, even though I don't think there's any fine, or maybe there is, but everybody just does it. Even the foreigners like us, when we moved there, we learn
How to
do it. It's not like you cannot be taught. If you
Yeah.
didn't grow up in such a situation, you just have to make an effort, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Singapore and recycling.
But to be fair, I feel like I did get a bit more conscientious about it after like I went to Korea for exchange, where they were also much better at recycling than we were. Like they had to separate out food waste, and then the rest of it depends on where you stay, how much they want to separate.
Yeah. So Singapore also has the reverse vending machine, where basically it's a machine that takes in cans and bottles. Then there's some kind of like reward system. But the thing is, these machines are so sparsely located, and whenever I try to actually go to one, it's always full. So it sort of like defeats the purpose, and so like the easiest recourse for me to recycle things is just to put it in the blue bin.
The regular one that's everywhere.
That's also contaminated. Yeah, so it's like, even if I want to put in the extra effort to bring it to like a proper recycling machine, the machine doesn't always
Have space.
yeah, it's not maintained.
Yeah, unfortunately that is kind of the state of the education on recycling. I think because it is not I don't know how it can be made better, but it's just a persistent problem.
I feel like having a rubbish chute in the house is sort of dulled the awareness of trash among Singaporeans, because once you put it in a bag and once you put it down the chute, it's no longer your problem, right? But yes, it's everybody's problem, right?
I mean, let's not go into the waste systems in Singapore because it's actually quite different from most other countries.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you don't know, it's not common to have a chute that goes to every floor. It's more common for a lot of apartment complexes to only have one location for trash on the ground floor, like the basement or whatever.
Yeah, so I feel like because everything is so convenient, it's sort of left the consciousness of the average Singaporean, which is why we have such a state today.
It's also a system of the time, right? Because like it was that way because it was the fastest way to get people living in apartment blocks and keep it clean.
Yeah. So I do understand that, you know, those were the requirements back then, but this is the result.
Okay, moving on to the next one
Next
about
point.
escalators. Okay, so let's explain escalators in Singapore first. So when you go up the escalator, most of them are sufficiently wide to fit two people. In Singapore, we stand on the left of the direction that you're traveling in. So most people would, on the left side, everybody is like, it's common to just stand and like you just go up by the escalator. On the right side is kind of like the fast lane where you are sort of expected to walk if you're taking this side. So Teal's pet peeve is with people stopping in the fast lane.
Like they walk and then they stop there. Or like if they're a couple and then they get on, instead of, you know, one behind the other, then they just take up the whole and then it's
and
a
then anybody
bottleneck.
else who wants to walk has to like, you know, excuse me, and then there may not be space for them to move. My pet peeve with it is not so much this part of it, because I'm the kind that if I'm determined enough, I would just be like, excuse me, and I'll just stand there until they move. Or if I can't be bothered, I'll just stand behind them and just be like. But my pet peeve with it is that this fast lane, right, is kind of useless when it's very crowded and everybody's queuing to get on the regular lane. So like at the bottom of the escalator, especially at places like Jurong East, which is very, very busy, right?
Yeah.
So everybody's just queuing to get, because they don't want to
like a
they don't
bottleneck
want to
there,
walk.
right?
So there's like a whole bunch of people like at the bottom of the escalator trying to get onto this lane. But like there's no space for me to squeeze in to get into the fast lane. Like I'm willing to walk up. Let me walk up. Like I can't get there. So yeah, and then once I get there, I'll get stopped by all the people who were standing in the middle. So I'll just be like, I guess. At least I'm on the escalator. But it annoys me that I can't get there, even though I'm willing to walk. Yeah.
Is there any solution to this? I don't think so. It's just etiquette.
I mean, it doesn't work so much going up, but for escalators going down, right? Sometimes when I'm wearing flip-flops, I would just go down super noisily. So it will be like, so they are aware that someone is coming down. Or if you go down fast enough, right, they'll be a bit scared. So they're trying to like squeeze their way into the regular lane so that they don't get like slammed by the person coming down, which is me, and I'm not heavy enough to slam them. But yeah. The only one that I think is a bit more okay or reasonable is if that's a kid or like that's a parent with a kid.
Yeah.
Because like sometimes the height difference makes it really difficult for a parent to like hold a kid if the kid is they're trying to stand in one line. So I'm okay with that, but like
But in most cases, the kid is also small enough that, you know, you can squeeze past the kid, right?
yeah.
Because they're not a full-grown adult.
I think the annoying one is couples who just refuse to move. And also generally are just in their own world, so they're not very aware that people are trying to move past them. Friends usually would move unless it's like a group of like 4 or 5 people.
And then they're all like already stuck in like twos and there's no
then
way
they
to
can't
move,
move,
right?
yeah. But I do have friends that like when I meet them they would like I'll stand on this side and then they'll stand on the other side and I'll be like,
no, you're being an inconvenience.
but there's not a lot of people going on the escalator.
Yeah. I guess like at most you'll only be inconvenienced for I guess the however many seconds it takes to go up the level, right? So it's not a major inconvenience, but it is still, slightly annoying for
it's
short period of time.
It's that mindset of like everyone wants to quickly go home.
Yeah.
And then like everyone's moving really fast in Singapore even on weekends. So,
Then you have someone that disrupts this rhythm.
yeah. Especially on public transport. I feel like in malls it's expected to be a bit slower.
Yeah.
So the last
one is walking in the middle of the pathway, which is similar to the escalator situation where you leave the person with no way of moving ahead of you. Yeah, so sometimes the pathway is like just sufficient to take two people if they walk shoulder to shoulder, right? And one person is comfortable, but like this one person would just stand in the middle of the pathway, and then there's not enough space on either side for you to like overtake them, unless you turn sideways and like crab walk and like yeah. Sometimes even if you say excuse me, they don't really move.
They may or may not be.
May or may not, yeah.
Yeah.
Or the same thing, right? If it's like a couple or like a group and then they don't really give way to people who are moving at a faster pace or coming in the opposite direction.
I think it's harder when you're trying to overtake them from behind because they can't see you usually.
This is something that happens when I run, because I run outside,
Right.
and then I have to like I'm like already trying to breathe while running, and then I still have to shout excuse me, and then they just don't hear me either because they're wearing earbuds or whatever. But like sometimes I feel like I should buy a rubber chicken or like the honk so I can honk people instead of actually having to use my lungs to.
Yeah, but ultimately, I guess it's about, I don't know, it's about sharing the pathway, but it's hard to tell how much is considerate or inconsiderate, because I guess if you're the pedestrian, you can be like, oh, the other person who's running is being inconsiderate as well, right?
Yeah, so something positive, I guess, that happened when I was running and like having to share the pathway. This bunch of cyclists were coming up behind me, so they were going to overtake on the right, so they rang their bell, which is the protocol, right? And so I moved to the left, then they overtook me. And then the person told me like, oh, there's 3 more. So I knew how many more people were coming, because if
not, you might move back
if
to
not,
the
I
center.
might move back to the center, right?
Just for comfort,
Yeah, which is nice. And so each of the cyclists didn't have to like ring the bell.
Honestly, I get very
one.
startled and then whenever they ring the bell.
Yeah, and the other thing is, if you ring the bell, please give the person enough distance to
I
move.
hate it
I hate it when they ring and they're just like there's no reaction time, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so those are our top 5 pet peeves about being in Singapore. Most of it has to do with, sharing of public spaces.
I mean, I guess that's why there's conflict.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's about waste and sharing public spaces. Yeah. So what pet peeves do you have of where you live? Let us know.
Are you Singaporean, and do you also share the same pet peeves, or maybe you are the one guilty of it?
I think if they're guilty, they won't leave a comment. But I guess that's all for this video.
Yeah, let us know if this also happens where you are, or maybe, things are different. Trigger points are different.
Could be the culture also.
Yeah.
Alright, so that's all for today. See you next time.
Bye.